Hi, I'm Michael. This is Lessons from the Screenplay. The Before trilogy is, in my opinion, one of the greatest gifts of modern cinema. 3 films, each separated by 9 years, that together tell a beautiful and brutal story of what love means as we progress through life. All 3 films have an unusual form, comprised almost exclusively of lengthy conversations between the 2 central characters, Jesse and Celine. Because of this unusual structure, I remember being in film school and arguing that Before Sunset was a perfect example of a movie that doesn't have a Hollywood structure. Oh, film school, Michael, you young fool. Fortunately, as I've grown older and wiser, I've realized that one of the reasons Before Sunset is so amazing is because it is so structured. So today, I want to break the film into 5 acts and dissect each one to uncover the invisible structure that keeps 80 pages of conversation engaging. To look at how the script constructs and then destroys each character's facade. And to examine how each moment is tied to the central dramatic question. Let's take a look at one of my favorite films, Before Sunset. First, let's define what a story's dramatic question is. In his book Story, Robert McKee describes it as a variation on the question, how will this turn out? Writing, hunger for the answer to the major dramatic question grips the audience's interest, holding it to the last act's climax. The dramatic question is the hook, the reason we continue watching, and the engine that keeps Before Sunset engaging. Before Sunset opens on Jesse finishing the last leg of his book tour. As he answers questions, it becomes clear that he's written the events of Before Sunrise into a book.
The book ends on an ambiguous note. We don't know. Do you think they get back together in 6 months? Like they promise each other?
This introduces the dramatic question of this act, the same one the audience was left with at the end of Before Sunrise. Did Jesse and Celine get back together in 6 months like they promised? Asking this question overtly but refusing to answer it creates tension, which draws us in.
In the words of my grandfather, okay, to answer that would take the piss out of the whole thing.
Oh no.
To keep us engaged, the film slowly hints at the answer, starting with the inciting incident. Across the room, Celine emerges from behind a row of books where she's been hiding and listening. He takes a beat, still looking at Celine, not sure what to do next. But simple curiosity about the answer to the dramatic question isn't enough to keep the audience engaged. The substance of a story comes from characters struggling to resist change. One way characters resist change is by trying to maintain a facade, a persona they construct to hide the painful truth underneath. In this first act, Before Sunset hints at the truths Jesse and Celine are hiding from.
I flew all the way over there, you blew the thing off, and my life's been a big nosedive since then, but I mean, it's not a problem.
No, you can't say that.
Jesse suggests his life was ruined when she didn't show up, but quickly dismisses it as a joke.
Reading something knowing that the character in the story is based on you, it's both flattering and disturbing at the same time.
Yeah, how's it disturbing?
I don't know. Just being part of someone else's memory, seeing myself through your eyes. How long did it take you to write it?
And Celine suggests his vision of her was disturbing, but immediately changes the subject. These are the truths the characters are afraid of confronting, locked away behind their facades. But people and characters always resist changing unless they are forced to, which is why the film introduces one final dramatic ingredient.
How much longer before I have to go to the airport?
Oh, you should leave at 7:30. 7:30 at the very latest.
Jesse has a plane to catch, so now a ticking clock looms over everything that comes afterward. There's pressure. So to recap, Act 1 establishes Jesse and Celine's facades, introduces a time constraint to pressure the characters, and asks a dramatic question, which by the end of the act has actually been answered. Celine and Jesse did not meet up 9 years ago and haven't spoken since. So our attention turns to a new dramatic question, the central dramatic question at the heart of the entire film. Will Jesse and Celine get together this time? Now we're ready for Act 2. To answer this dramatic question, we have to know if there is still even a romantic spark between them. So the second act is about Jesse and Celine catching up. But how do you make 14 pages of chit-chat about politics, their careers, and how they've aged engaging? The writers make sure that each conversation topic eventually relates to the dramatic question. Disagreements allow for playful banter.
I realize that there are a lot of serious problems in the world.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? I mean, I don't even have one publisher in the whole Asian market.
Okay. All right.
Celine's story about living in the US turns into a conversation about the differences between American men and French men.
I guess they're not as,
What?
What's the word? Horny? They're not as horny.
All right, now, wait. Now listen to me on this one, all right? In that regard, I am proud to be an American.
And reflecting on how long it's been since they first met allows them to comment on how they each look.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, voila. So?
You look beautiful.
In other words, it always comes back to romance. These 14 pages of conversation about politics, their careers, and how they've aged serve to demonstrate that Jesse and Celine clearly still enjoy talking to each other and still find each other attractive. So with clear facades and the possibility of Jesse and Celine getting together looking good, the film moves to Act 3, where everything gets more complicated. When the audience's relationship to the dramatic question remains static, a story starts to drag, which is why it's important to complicate the dramatic question. In the first half of Act 3, Jesse and Celine start overtly flirting with each other.
If we were both going to die tonight, I mean, would we talk about your book, the environment, or...
But I would still want to talk about, the magic in the universe. I just want to do it from
What?
a hotel room, in between sessions of us wildly fucking until we die.
Wow. Well, why waste time with an hotel room? Why not do it right there on a bench?
He immediately grabs her and pulls her over to a bench as she is suddenly overcome with shyness.
We're not gonna die tonight.
All right, too bad.
She repositions herself on the bench next to him. It seems like they're both interested in reconnecting, like we're moments away from getting the fairy tale answer to the dramatic question. So it's the perfect time for the screenwriters to have Celine casually bring up the one topic they've been avoiding.
So I read in that article that you're married with a kid. That's great.
A slightly weird look from Jesse. Knew this was coming, eventually. This is the film's midpoint, the reveal of a seemingly insurmountable obstacle that recontextualizes the entire film thus far and complicates the dramatic question. What would it mean for Jesse and Celine to get together now? Do we even still want that? Now that the dramatic question has been complicated, the film uses conflict to complicate the characters as well. Jesse and Celine are each other's opponents, so part of their function in the story is to erode the other's facade by attacking the lie they project. Jesse's lie is that love is simply a choice.
So you got married because the men you admired were married?
In the moment, I remember thinking that it didn't much matter, the who of it all. I mean, that nobody's going to be everything to you. And that ultimately, it's just a simple action of committing yourself, meeting your responsibilities that matters.
But spending time with Celine has been revealing the importance of connection, which is wearing on Jesse's facade. Jesse then speaks in a voice that is both louder and more frustrated and desperate than we've seen.
Oh, God. Why weren't you there in Vienna?
I told you why.
Well, I know why. I wish you would have been. Our lives might have been so much different.
As his own facade cracks, Jesse starts challenging Celine's lie, that everything worked out for the best.
Maybe not. Maybe we would have hated each other eventually.
Oh, what, like we hate each other now?
Celine is a bit tense.
Well, the past is the past. It was meant to be that way.
The struggle of the characters trying to hold on to their lies is what makes this section so gripping. By the end of the third act, it's clear that there are cracks in each character's facade, but they're still holding on to their lies. So the story ratchets up the pressure.
Well, I guess this is goodbye, and you better give me your...
No, why don't we just give you a ride home, wherever you're going, huh?
Well, I can take the metro.
No. My flight's not until 10, right? They've got me arriving 2 hours earlier.
It's
This
not
way we
really
can keep talking.
They are truly almost out of time, so they climb into the car and enter the most explosive act of all, Act 4. Act 4 centers around Celine, who has been clinging to her facade more tightly than Jesse, as she slowly unravels in a 3.5-page cascade of emotion. It begins with Celine restating the lie she is trying to believe.
For me, it's better I don't romanticize things as much anymore. It doesn't make me sad, it's just the way it is.
Jesse, acting as her opponent, calls her out,
Is that why you're in a relationship with somebody who's never around?
which forces her to admit that she has problems with romance now.
When someone is always around me, I'm like suffocating.
But again, Jesse calls her out, forcing her to acknowledge her contradiction.
No, wait, you just said that you need to love and be loved.
Yeah, but when I do, it quickly makes me nauseous. It's a disaster.
This snowballs into an emotional response that will finally force Celine to admit the truth she hinted at in Act 1.
I was fine until I read your fucking book. It reminded me how genuinely romantic I was, how I had so much hope in things, and now it's like I don't believe in anything that relates to love. I don't feel things for people anymore. In a way, I put all my romanticism into that one night and I was never able to feel all this again.
Because the last thing characters want is to reveal the truth, when it finally does come out, it is often messy, even disastrous.
I've got to get away from you. Stop the car. I want to get out.
No,
you know what?
don't get out.
It's being
Keep
around
talking.
you, okay?
Hey,
No,
hey.
don't touch me. You know, I want to get on a cab.
This is the story's crisis, the worst possible consequence of the inciting incident. Maybe we're about to get the answer to the dramatic question. Not only do they not get together, but their reunion ends in a terrible fight. But she stays, and after her facade is destroyed, Jesse is finally able to reveal the painful reality his life has become.
You think you're the one dying inside? My life is 24/7 bad. And I know that there's something wrong, you know, that that I can't keep living like this, that there's gotta be something more to love than commitment. But then I think that I might have given up on the whole idea of romantic love, that I might have put it to bed that day when you weren't there. You know, I think I might have done that.
Finally, the truth is out. They both gave up on romance when they didn't meet in Vienna 9 years ago. Their souls are bared, their facades have crumbled, and as they arrive at Celine's apartment, it's finally time to answer the dramatic question. Will Jesse and Celine get together this time? By Act 5, we understand how complicated the dramatic question is, but now we also understand how complicated the characters are, and that this could be the second chance at love they both need. So as Jesse goes upstairs so Celine can play him a song before he heads to the airport, there's a new kind of tension. They start up the stairs, not saying anything, but acting like everything is normal. As they continue in silence, the charged undertone seems even more pronounced. As they hang out in her apartment, we see what Jesse and Celine have earned by weathering the painful storm of exposing their truths and surrendering their facades. Their true selves are together for the first time in 9 years, and it's clear with every moment this is where they want to be. As the song keeps going and Celine keeps clowning around, Jesse just sits there with the most peaceful, happy grin we've ever seen on him. But it's not until the very last line of the film that the dramatic question is finally answered.
Baby, you are gonna miss that plane.
I know.
So, does Before Sunset have a conventional Hollywood story structure? Well, if we take the big moments we've just covered and overlay them onto the Sid Field paradigm structure, the 3-act model used in most Hollywood films, we see that they fit pretty snugly. The first section has an inciting incident. There's a first plot point as Jesse and Celine start talking. There's a midpoint reversal that flips the story on its head. There's a second plot point when Celine wants to get out of the car and it looks like their relationship will end badly. And there's a third act climax as each character makes the ultimate choice. So, in that respect, sorry Film School Michael, you were mistaken. Before Sunset does have a conventional Hollywood structure. But, in all honesty, you could take just about anything and force it into the structure if you tried hard enough. Simply adhering to structure for its own sake isn't enough to make a movie good. Before Sunset is brilliant because it is a beautifully designed real-time conversation that organically takes its two characters through a full arc. And the result of that is a structure so effortless it seems invisible. This is something that is hard to come by, and it's what Film School Michael was connecting with. That the film feels so romantic and raw is really a signal of the immense effort and honesty that was poured into Before Sunset. So much of what makes the Before trilogy great is the power of conversation. And as I was working on this video, I kept thinking about my favorite book, Sapiens: A Brief History of Humankind by Yuval Noah Harari. Sapiens is a fascinating summary of humanity's evolution, and one of my favorite chapters is about the importance of language. He describes one theory, that our language evolved as a way of gossiping. It is not enough for individual men and women to know the whereabouts of lions and bison. It's much more important for them to know who in their band hates whom, who is sleeping with whom, who is honest, and who is a cheat. Sapiens made me appreciate the true power of conversation and so many other aspects of humanity, and you can download the audiobook today for free with Audible. If you're a regular viewer of Lessons from the Screenplay, then you've probably heard me talk about how much I love Audible and how they have the largest selection of audiobooks on the planet. But through the month of July, there's a special offer going on. Amazon Prime members can start an Audible membership and save 66% on your first 3 months. It's essentially like getting 3 months for the price of 1. Just head to audible.com/LFTS or text LFTS to 500-500 to get started today. Thanks to Audible for sponsoring this video. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. There's so much to talk about with Before Sunset, which is why I'm very happy we have our podcast, Beyond the Screenplay. Our episode on Before Sunset is out today, and we do a deeper dive into that film as well as the entire Before trilogy, so check it out. The link to the episode is in the description below. Thank you as always to my patrons on Patreon and supporters here on YouTube for making this channel possible. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.